life is.
Yeah, but you are rich though.
Yeah, I mean financially. Financially, I'm not.
You aren't rich financially, but you are rich in, I don't even know what you want to use that in spirit and connection and that's what it really comes down to. You know, like if you don't have that and you just have a pile of money sitting in a bank somewhere, that money is only going to keep you. That's like having another drug.
All right, forget the intro. Let's jump right in. Welcome to One Call, episode 8. I got a good one for you today. We are opening the door to Service 360 Group, and we are going to have one of our own on the show, which is a great time to say that today's show is brought to you by Service 360 Group. We are a home services company in Berks County, Pennsylvania. We handle plumbing, HVAC, and electrical, but I promise you, if you have something, a problem going on around your home or business, give us a call, and we'll take care of you. Without further ado, I'd like to open the door to our guest today, Mr. Bo Kyle. He is our commercial construction HVAC foreman, and he's actually still on the job. So, Bo, welcome to One Call. How you doing today?
Great. How you doing, Griff?
Doing good. This show so far has been, people from across the country. We've been to South Carolina. A couple of our guests have been from West Virginia here recently. But now we're in Berks County with one of our own. And I'm excited to, a lot of our following now on the show has been from West Virginia or spread out across the country. And I'm excited to show kind of my people, some of the people that I get to work with up here, and share some of these stories, because there's a lot of interesting ones around us. So I'm really excited for today's episode. And, I think it's so cool that your studio is your work truck and you just got off work, and we're going to cram this episode in on a Wednesday evening.
For sure.
So to get things started, we've known each other. We've been friends for a couple years now, but I can't say that I know your story. So, take us back to the beginning, pre-Service 360 Group, as far back as you want to go, and introduce us to who Bo started as.
I'll probably just go back into like my 20s, it's kind of where you start working, and your life starts to pick up, and, things get busy. So I think that'd probably be a good area to go back to. In my 20s, I was, started out welding, out of high school, got out of that a little bit, did some powder coating, always welded. It's kind of always been like my backbone, I would say. Sorry. Loved it. Still love welding. Got into some other stuff later years. But really the story in the 20s, beyond work, I was a partier. That was my life back then. It was, you show up to work every day, and I partied hard on the weekends. That was everything from drinking to some random drugs that turned into some way heavier drugs in the late 20s. But it was like a lot of drinking. It was just that was my life back then. Work was good though. I was a steady work person. I was there every day. I worked at my family has a powder coat company back then. I was working that, became the head powder coat, like the lead powder coater. Had some guys underneath me. Did that like 10 years. And I think the partying really caught up to me, probably in 27, 28-ish. Got into some other stuff, some heroin and crack, some other stuff like that. And things went downhill.
Sure.
At that point, I already owned a house. Bought a house when I was 24. Like everything was doing well, minus drinking a lot, but everything was doing well, and started to spiral a little out of control whenever like some heavier drugs kind of became my life.
I can imagine. Before we get too far past that, take me back to before you started into your welding career. Did that happen right out of high school? Like, did you think about going to college, or did you just go straight for
No,
the trades?
I was in vocational school. I did a 3-year program in 2 years. Came out with an A on top. I came out top of my class. Graduated high school. And got right into it. Did a couple years welding in a shop.
Hit the ground running professionally.
I knew I wasn't going to want to do, really anything beyond desk wise, or I like building things. I've always just been intrigued by that, and which comes with construction, beyond just the welding part, like you can build any, now I build HVAC systems and plumbing stuff and, stuff like that. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, so it was the building stuff, the creating and running systems that kind of drew you to the trades,
sure.
right? And was it so you came out of high school, you're hitting the ground running professionally. Did you say that you opened your own shop, or you were working for
parents opened a powder coating shop?
And you became the lead powder coater there. Where did the substance abuse come from? The partying, where did that come from? Was it something that was kind of ingrained in the culture of the welding trade that you were in, or was it just you wanting to rebel or seek out something different?
I mean, to me, honestly, I hate to put it this way, but I had older friends and I had an older brother, and I seen, like I was in, this was even before high school. I seen people partying, and I always wanted to be there. And like one thing turned into another, and next thing you know, you're drinking every day. Next thing you know, you're smoking weed every day. There's part of it, that probably came from some family trauma and stuff, but it was more of, to me, I thought that was the cool thing. I thought that's what cool kids did. I thought like that's where I wanted to be. And then it turned into, I was having fun every weekend partying. Then you think, oh, next thing you know, you're drinking every night, and takes a hold of you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I want to talk about that too. So I'm sure it started, almost innocently. And as we know, crescendos to the point where it's completely, unmanageable, and you realize that you're living two lives. And when did you when did that hit you in the face? Because I'm sure there was a time where you were kind of balancing work and partying, or work and your drug use. At what point did you realize that, like, whoa, I gotta really look at this?
I would say probably and that was in the heroin time when I was like 27, is whenever to me in my 20s, like early 20s, I was drinking every day, and I went to work. I had no problem with it. At least I didn't think I did, until it got into heavier drugs, is where it really affected me. Now, granted, if I wouldn't have got into heavier drugs, the drinking still 100% would have caught up to me, because I got out of, later on in my 30s, early 30s, late 20s, I got clean from heavy drugs, heroin and stuff like that, and was right back into drinking. But then drinking put me in the hospital. So one way or another, it's going to catch up to you. I've heard stories of people saying, like, your body is allowed to have this much alcohol in your lifetime. Well, I drank all that had a lot in part in my 20s, so I don't drink anymore after that. It's gonna catch up to you, whether you drink a couple beers a day, a couple beers a week. Everybody's different. Your body can only handle so much abuse before it breaks down. Mine broke down at, right before 30 is whenever I was like, just had it. I was in the hospital. I can't do this,
Yeah. And you probably have been asked this question many, many times before. Actually, I can definitely say that you have. But you kind of had it figured out. You obviously had some level of skill or talent with fabricating. You were young, early in your career, and for the most part, very successful at what you were doing. I mean, maybe not even for the most part. You were very successful in what you were doing. Why then? Why did this? Why did substances and alcohol kind of take over?
It's a very hard question until you're in it, because like you said, it starts off small and then just escalates, and by that point you're already gone. Unless you get it under control, or something happens in your life that you're like, man, I need to quit all this stuff. I at least in my eyes, a lot of people do. They're like, I'm starting to drink too much. I need to cut back. It wasn't like that in me. I had to hit something. I had to hit, and I don't know why it took me to have to hit something rock bottom. Like now I would never look back, but back then I seen it as I had it and I could handle it until I couldn't. And then you lose a house, then you lose almost everything you own. Then you're going to rehabs a couple times a year, and you're shipping yourself across the U.S. to stay away from people. Like, it's wild. I don't really know, like,
for sure,
exactly. Like I had toys, I had a house, I had all the things I wanted, but I was still drinking every day because I found it fun. Like at that point I found it fun until it really took over. Then it just wasn't fun anymore. It was a full-blown addiction and takes control of you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely it was checking a box there. For me, in my story, I can remember having these jobs, or having a lot of like good things going, but in that moment, none of it really mattered because I was chasing something different. Like my attention and my focus was elsewhere, and half of me or less than half of me could be like maintaining the job, but the other 3/4 of me was focused on where I was going to check that box next, or where I was going to scratch the itch that I had to drink and party and go out and just be a complete piece of crap. What was the first consequence that hit you that made you kind of look at it and realize that you had to make a change?
Losing my house, not being able to pay payments, start selling stuff, and it's like at that point, when you have all these cool things, and you realize you're losing them all just to feed an addiction. I think that was whenever I was like, need to start changing something. But then still, it took me a year or two to get through that. You say you want to change. You go to a rehab and you get back out. It's tough on the streets when you get back out after 30 days. You get back out, you're right back into it. Twice as hard,
So I feel this is like one of the hardest things to communicate to people unlike us who haven't like lived this. But you worked very hard for that house, and you were doing the deal, and you kind of recognized the responsibility at one point in your life when you signed your name on the line.
Stack of papers that thick,
Yeah. How did it? Okay, so then like one day, like how did you just decide like I don't care about that responsibility anymore, and I need to put my money here towards this substance or whatever it was. Like how would you communicate that to someone who has never dealt with addiction?
I mean, to me, that's it. It never happened during alcohol for me. I I somehow, in the 20s was partying every weekend, back at it, at work every day. I mean, I remember working months straight before, on the weekends, all that stuff. I was a worker. But whenever heroin came in, and, pills and heroin, when that ramped
Yeah,
up, and the way that takes over your body and mind, and the physical stress it does to you of being sick when you don't have it, and missing work because you're sick, or getting paid and spending all your money in a day or two, and then being sick for the other couple days till you get paid again. Like, the what that drug does to your body is just, it's torture when you don't have it. It's the hardest thing to come off of, because the way to feel better is to have it.
the only
It's
way.
easy to
Yeah,
get $20 and fix it for half a day. Like, that's the worst part about it. It was easier to go around and get $20 off someone if you didn't have it, or sell something and fix yourself for half that day. Well, the money runs out at some point, and you got to clean up your life, and you have to, man, you have to make that decision of, I need to go to rehab and stick it out. Like, that's the hardest thing with rehabs, because they don't give you enough time anymore. They're giving you 28 to 30 days, and they're kicking you out.
yeah, and I want to kind of hammer this point right here. And let me say this before that. I feel like it's way better today than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, in where people, I feel like it's really easy to look at a struggling drug addict and just automatically label them as a piece of crap, or someone who, you know, is a nobody and is a second rate person, making horrible decisions. I know you're not a piece of crap. You know me, I'm not a piece of crap, but I have been in that position before.
Yeah, but is it, hold
Where
on a sec though, is it the person or is it the drug? Because because
exactly.
90%, probably maybe even more than 90% of the people out there that are doing drugs, if you clean them up, they're some of the nicest people you ever meet. It's just like that dude that's walking down the street that looks tough, that's full of tattoos. He's probably really one of the nicest guys you ever meet, but you judge a book by a cover. It's a completely different story.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. Is like it's kind of a lack of understanding and in a blanket of judgment that I will admit has gotten a lot better in the last couple, 10 years or so.
But that'll always be there
It will always
to
be there to
certain
some
people
extent.
that that we're talking
Yeah,
to right now that don't understand.
exactly. That's the whole point, is that they don't
Yeah.
understand. Because, I've seen pictures, uh and man, this is, I never thought about, I have not crossed this topic as a parent before. But I've seen pictures, and I've heard stories, and I've had relationships with people where children were involved. And when you insert heroin, cocaine, meth, some of these strong, like the strongest substances in the world, it does something to you where you need those more than you have a responsibility to care for your own child. In your case, it was your house. The biggest responsibility in your life was neglected because of this ultra powerful substance. And I think that's really hard for people to grasp.
It is. I mean, I don't even really know what to say on that, though. I mean, it's the drug takes over at that point. That you're doing everything
Yeah.
to feed that addiction. You're not doing everything to feed yourself, your home, to make sure bills are paid. Everything goes to the addiction. It, it
And at some point, though, you kind of steered the ship, or even out of necessity, like you were going to die or you're going to get help, right? So, like, what did that look like? When was the turning point for you to start to realize, okay, I have a problem, and I think it's time we better start working on
I mean,
fixing it.
this sounds horrible to say, but I mean, it was when I was out of everything. It was rock bottom. I was evicted from my house, living with friends, barely. I had just lost everything, and I was like, this is the time. And I had an opportunity to shoot out to the West Coast or Midwest, whatever you want to call it, Montana. I stayed out there for 3 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I lived on the side of Big Sky, snowboard town. It's going to snowboard, crazy snowboard ski mountain. Um, it was fun. I went to rehab first, and I had some distant family out there. I had some landscaping businesses and stuff, so I had a job. I knew I could work. Like that was the less scary part of moving out west. So, what are you gonna do? I had a job. I just had to go to rehab, and I did that. Went to it, but then the downfall is I put myself in a drinking town. what what did I
Yeah.
do? I got clean from heroin, but you know what? Like now I'm in this fun drinking town. Like, what do? We snowboard all day and drink all night. Go to work as little as possible. That was the cool thing of that town. And I didn't do any drugs. I might have did a little cocaine, I'm sure, but I didn't go back to heroin. Um, but I drank, man. I drank like a fish, and it just got worse because it's like the combating or like quitting one drug. They say you usually like pick up something else, or like you pick up some other habit. And I just went back to drinking, and just the drinking got worse because I'm chasing a high. And I made it 3 years until I made it to the hospital. And I was in the hospital twice in 2 weeks. Basically, actually, I think twice in 3 weeks, and I was in the hospital for 14 days. So I was there for 2 weeks in an ICU. Pancreatitis. I was dying, like literally dying. And that's when I was like, doctors are telling me I can't drink anymore. And my dad was told that, and he didn't listen, So that's maybe the cold
Yeah.
hard slap to reality that, I need to listen to somebody whose profession is fixing people, and listen to them and say, hey, maybe I don't need to drink anymore. I need to put this down. I need to put all these drugs down. I need to just find a way to be okay being sober.
And this was still out while you were in Montana. Is when you went to the hospital.
Yeah, that was the end of it before I came back to Kevin's.
All right, that's where I thought we were. So you wake up on day 14 of your stay in the hospital, and it's okay. What do I do now? And you're telling me that you came back this way.
I literally, I wasn't even supposed to leave the hospital in my own vehicle. I had a vehicle, didn't even have a license. This is how dumb we are in our, state of, I had a vehicle, no license. I left the hospital, threw all my stuff away. Took my car to a dealership, sold it for $200, and I said, I need you to drop me off at the airport. The guy said, all right, handed me $200. One of his employees drove me to the airport, and I sat there overnight, took the plane back home.
And straight to Kevin's.
Straight to Kevin's I went.
I feel like I got to provide our audience some context here.
Okay.
Kevin is now our boss. This is Kevin Cobb. It's why we are both employed here at Service 360. But and I'm going to speak for me, and I'll let you speak for you later. Kevin saved my life. He had a program called at the time that I went, it was called Sick Recovery Racing, and he offered a solution for people who struggled like Bo and I struggled. He is against the grain. One of the most unique individuals I've probably ever met. But he was exactly what I needed. We don't always see eye to eye to this day, but I wouldn't be sitting in this chair, without him in my corner. And so I feel like now we can pick up kind of where, people know who Kevin is. He's the chief operating officer here at Service 360 Group. And in another life, he was a recovery coach that has touched both mine and Bo's life. So go ahead and pick up there, Bo.
Yeah. So, plane trip back to get back into the story. Brother picked me up, dropped me off at a motocross track up in Pine Grove. That used to be a bar and, what's it called? Bar. Yeah.
A strip club.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm very familiar with the strip club. Not with the strip club, but with the motocross track you're talking about.
It was different walking into that. I think there was 11 guys when I got there. It was nighttime. Walked in, everybody was nice and greeted me. Kevin was there. It was different. It was like, at first, it was like just going to hang out with a bunch of friends, for that first night. And you're like, what is this? It was very different at first. And that changed over the years as it turned into Soul. But yeah, when I got there, it was the same as you. It was sick recovery, for the first 6 months. And that's how I met you. We went down to Florida. I met you, and you tell me to paint lines for cars to park, and I'd follow you around and we paint lines and, became friends. And, but we was going to races. It was promoting, sobriety at the racetrack. It was sobriety everywhere. It was Kevin helping us, but also each other helping us, each one teach one. It was like brothers helping brothers, and just everybody, being there wanted the same thing. They wanted to get sober. They wanted to stay sober. They were tired of, there's a lot of guys that you might go through this later that have been through a lot more treatment programs than I have. I've only been through 2 treatment programs before.
I think I lost you there. Okay, so a little bit of technical difficulty there. The problem with calling a foreman on the job is, or can be, that he's on the job. So we're not going to sugarcoat anything here. Little technical difficulties. We've since moved to a secure internet connection, temperature-controlled room at his hotel, and we're back. So pick up right where we left off. We were just diving into what the program was like, that Kevin ran, and that, played a big part in getting you to where you are today.
Yeah. So, getting to the program, it was different. I got introduced to the program through, my uncle Rod, which is his family owns Dublin Gap. So he knew Kevin, longtime friends through motocross. And Rod and my aunt told me about this program, that I'd probably like it. So came back to Pennsylvania from Montana, got dropped off the program. It was different. Living at the Dutchman, the motocross track, there was guys riding, it's partially, fun stuff, and then partially recovery. I think that's kind of the best way to kind of put it. We did a lot of things, on the weekends we were going to to the racetrack and promoting motocross and the awareness of drugs in motocross and sobriety, what we were. We had guys, we had an A rider, a B rider. We had a few riders. Probably, I think we had 3 guys competing at that point. They were just showing, they're out there hitting the track every weekend, showing what they can do. And that was before we were working. That was more of kind of just recovery and motocross at that point. Like you said, we went to
you can correct me
Motorama.
if I'm wrong here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good.
So correct me if I'm wrong here, but I still feel like this was the kind of like the beginning of what the program became. And even then, to me, it was just I've been to a couple rehabs, but it was just so different than anything that I'd like experienced before. And the only way that I could describe its differences, it just felt so much more real, right? I mean, is that a correct, descriptor of the program?
I mean, yes and no, though. It also felt like how is this a program? Because we're just out here having fun and promoting it. It's like we did our own cooking and we did our own stuff to make sure we survived. Other than money wise. But then there was a lot of fun back then, just like horsing around and going to the track and, meeting people. And like I said, we were selling shirts. That was like the one thing I liked doing when we were there, because I didn't ride the motorcycles. And just talking to people, meeting people, kind of telling them about who we were. But like, it was almost like, I don't even know the correct word for it. Like a dream at first of, it's not your typical rehab. It's not being crammed down, hearing about the big, not the big book or whatever they call the AA book. It's not all that kind of stuff, to where it's Kevin would come by, once a day, and we'd talk about stuff for a couple hours, and then we'd just kind of have fun. But that was the earlier program. The program turned into a lot different as it turned into Soul. And I don't know if you want to go ahead and we can start turning into like what happened when it changed, like the new name, the branding. What we tried to do there was completely different and really magnificent. Of how Kevin, I remember Kevin came to me one morning. He's like, man, like, we really can't do it like this. There's guys calling me every day that don't have money to get help. And he felt bad, and I could see it. Like, Kevin, like he always wants to help somebody. There was a point to where I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And I told him, I don't know what I'm going to do, Kevin. I'm 6 months in. I'm scared. I don't want to go home, but I don't have money to pay to be here. And he's like, don't worry about it right now. We're going to figure something out.
Yeah.
And he starts, like, one morning, he starts telling me about, like, he's like, there's this other program. They're doing stuff a little bit different. They're working for their keep. They're working to survive. They're working to feed the program. They're working to feed the next guy that comes in. He's like, I want to style this just like them. I want to talk to them. I want to learn from them. And we're gonna start a business. He's like, we're gonna start doing construction. He's like, we got a couple guys. At this point, he had no clue that I had past. I probably told him that I'd past experience in welding and construction and stuff, but with just a couple guys, you get it started, start promoting, and then we're building small stuff, and we're doing. Yeah, I forget what some of the very first jobs were, but there was also Kevin's brother Scott Cobb, the owner of Service 360, that had side work and regular work that would just give it to us, So if we weren't busy doing some of the original stuff, like I said, I can't remember exactly what some of the first ones were. We were helping him out, and that kind of got our foot in the door. You know, a lot of us got to meet Scott that way and learn a little bit of plumbing, learn a little bit of HVAC. None of our guys really went the electric route, but you know, it opened up doors.
All from the program that you went to on on death's door. You started at death's door, and then it kind of evolved into how you support yourself now.
Yeah. I mean, that was the point of like, we need to work to. Oh yeah, like the point of working is having the money to be able to bring people in to where they're not having to pay for recovery. That way we can bring in pretty much anybody that needs help. That's like was the whole point of Soul. Like you got 12 guys, maybe 15 guys working. That's going to help that next guy that needs to come in. It lets him walk right in the door, lets him get clean for 2 weeks. And then, a couple weeks after that, he's out working with us. And once he starts, you know what that opens the door for? That opens the door for the next guy. They're coming in, we're feeding them, we're teaching them a little bit, and we're learning through Kevin. We were going to some meetings, doing the right thing. Really just like learning from each other though. And that's like the point of the each one teach one. If you have a couple good guys, we learn how to live our life sober, we start teaching the next guy, and we hold each other accountable and build this good group of guys that want it, that want to get clean and sober and stay clean and sober. And then it like catches on. And, after a couple months, it catches on to the next guy. And it's a cycle, of like just the goodness of people wanting to be there. You're always you're going to bring a new guy in sometimes, and it's going to be like any other rehab. He's going to fight it, and it happens, but at least we tried. We planted a seed. We put a little bit of good word into him that he's going to remember that for the rest of his life. Maybe he didn't get sober today, but maybe 2 years later he did. But it opened a lot of the doors for the people that wanted to get sober.
I feel like addiction is a very selfish and self-centered disease, and what you just described is probably the exact opposite of that. Talk a little bit about that, like how was it natural to just not think about the next guy, or was that a struggle for you?
I mean, I think it really takes a year to. I don't really think that kicks in the first year. In the first year, you're just trying to get sober and figure out how you can just stay sober. And then it comes to the point where you're like, you know what? This isn't going to happen unless I'm like helping the next person. Because really helping that next person is also helping you, and keeping you on your toes and not letting yourself go backwards. I don't think many people came in and we're really helping too many other people in the first few months. They're fighting it. We're fighting back, saying, stay here. Don't go anywhere. Don't make rash decisions. Take your time. If you gotta go, you gotta go. But it's only going to lead to, what that's going to lead to.
Yeah.
So things like at that point we're like a year into, having a business, and things are just like picking up. We're getting jobs. Scott's giving us jobs. This is like early days of sole constructors. Probably, I mean, we struggled. We went from having 10 guys. I remember there was a time where there was like 4 to 6 of us. And then, we're back up. There was times where we had close to 17 to 20 guys. And, it was back and forth. It was a struggle, but there was some core guys that stuck with it. I stayed, I think it was 2.5 to 3 years. And I was like, since I was through the transition, as Soul picked up and we brought in more guys, I was, I had some time under my belt. I kind of knew what I was doing a little bit, helping guys and just working. Uh, it was a good time.
Did you find yourself, being looked at as like a leader in the community?
Yeah,
And how did that feel? Did you welcome that responsibility?
I did. I liked it. It's different. Because like the young kids, not the young kids, the new people that would come in, people don't like authority, especially out of drug addicts. Dislike authority.
Yeah.
They don't like cops. They don't like so you get a little backlash. But then like over the years, or even over 1 year, people start, as they get sober, they start to see that like all you're doing is loving them and helping them. It might sound harsh. Kevin was harsh. Like we're not going to sugarcoat anything with him. I love the guy, but he did what he had to do. And he treated everybody a little bit differently because not everybody's the same and not everybody requires the same treatment that a 30-day is doing the same thing for every guy.
Yeah.
Kevin changed the roles a little bit for different people. Not saying that like more people got away with more stuff. No, he combated people in their recovery a little different. He might have been a little softer on somebody, the way they talk to him or something. He's very well with people and understood that. It's his strong suit.
I think that's what I was getting at earlier when I just said like it's way more real than a 30-day treatment.
Yeah.
Number one, I guess the length of it, but number two, Kevin has told me truths, and I'm going to say that lightly, that would never come out of a therapist's mouth.
No.
He said things to me that no one else has said to me, and in ways that no one else could say them to me. But it was exactly what I needed when I needed it. And I can remember in those moments bucking exactly what he was saying, like, and it felt like, nails on a chalkboard coming out to hear. But like you said, when you look back, he was loving me exactly the way that I needed to be loved. Another thing, go ahead.
He knows something about me that it'll get under my skin, but he knows every time he does it to me will make me work harder and better. If he will nitpick some of the work I do, and he knows that I will go after it and make it better next time. And like there was little things that like like I take pride in my work, and he knew that. And he's like,
Yeah.
he'd take like one little thing whenever I was doing some welding projects. He like, that looks like crap. And I'm like, you like, know what? And I fix it, like you go back and you do better next time. And that's like the cool thing about what we do is like, there's a never ending learning curve that you can always grow. And I think that's like, we had a meeting the other day at work, and that was just kind of the push. He's like, even when you get good at what you're doing, there's always something to learn. There's always something else you can do, and you can always get better, is kind of what I took out of that meeting. It's always going to be something different. And that's life.
And I don't want to, we're running out of time. I want to say one more thing on the program, then I kind of want to get to where you're at today and, kind of tie it all together. But one thing that I noticed is that what you guys had going on there was like the group was way more important than the individual. And I think it's important for a group of, selfish, self-centered people to experience a culture like that. And to me, like, I've always loved being part of a team, whether it was in sports, in work. My family is a team, right? And I love that is a part of my life now, where I am, a part of a bigger system and a system, that wants and demands the best out of me, I guess. And I think that is like super vital, especially in that time, to be a part of something bigger, right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I think on my behalf, just with my background, I was more of like, kind of say like a lone wolf whenever it came to working, and learning stuff, like, and family wise too. I don't have like a huge family. So it was different having a group of guys that I could trust.
Yeah.
And I think I had trouble trusting people. And I think that's why I always took care of stuff on my own
Sure.
and tried to take care of stuff on my own, because I didn't have trust in people. So I just was like, I can't trust him to do what I need him to do. I'm just going to do it myself and know it got done right. But that's not the way. You can't live life like that. You know, you got to be able to put some trust in people and have some people have your back. And then at that point, I learned that with the people that we had. Maybe not the new guys, but, you know, some of the dedicated guys that's been there for a couple of years, to rely on people and to trust them and to build that relationship. I struggled with relationships all my life. And so it was a whole new thing of having this relationship with guys, that I could trust in them, you know, and they meant more to me than anything. You know, they cared. They were trying to teach me. They were trying to help me. And
Yeah, and it's a two-way connection, because it's one thing to trust people, but then it's a whole nother responsibility, maybe equal but equivalent responsibility, to be trusted. You know,
yeah,
to be relied upon.
yeah,
And I think it's cool that it worked both ways. You got to do your part, but then you can lean on the group too. And I think that's a perfect transition, because that's what I feel here at work today. I want to do my part because I see a bunch of people around me trying to get better, and not just at work. You know, there are people around me trying to be the best people that they can be, and that's what I love about, you know, working here.
yeah. It's definitely a different community than your standard cutthroat construction. You know,
Yeah.
you go to some jobs, they don't care about the next guy. But you know, I go into work every day, and some days there's a lot on my plate, you know, and I can turn around to one of our guys that does concrete. I could turn around to one of our plumbers and say, "Hey, man, I need some help." And you know
Yeah.
what they're gonna do? They're gonna walk right behind me, and we're gonna go get it done, which is like an amazing feeling. And you know, but that goes two ways. Like just as right now, like on this job that we have, the HVAC side's kind of coming up to a wrap. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go hammer out on plumbing. We're gonna
Yeah.
help them out. You know, we're gonna help out who we can, knock this job out of the park.
So that's two things, like distinguishing features about our company, right? You said the plus side, where, you know, if you need help, if you got a busy day ahead of you, you got like a group of guys you can fall back on that's going to help you do the job. But then you just said, well, we're going to wrap up with HVAC earlier, and what are we going to do? We're going to go down and help plumbing, right? So that's a prime example of a give and a take right there.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist everywhere.
No, everybody else would go home for the day.
I had some reservations about taking this job. And, you know, when I was driving up here, I kind of felt like I was driving back to rehab, because that was the last time I was in Berks County, you know. And when I'm up here, I stay at the farm, and it was my first time ever being at the farm, the night before my first day of work. And there I had some reservations, but when I walked into work, like day 2, I was hugged by people I didn't even know, and they're all guys that, you know, have a relationship with Kevin, and maybe have come from the program or maybe not, but we all speak the same language, and we come, you know, from we're cut from a similar cloth,
Yeah.
and you know, that's what I value in this work. You know, at this company, is that feeling of you know, they we don't know each other, but we understand each other, right? And I think that's unique. I don't think you get that everywhere you go either. Um, so
But I think it took us a minute to get there, though. I mean, I think we went through the past few years of, holding accountability on people. And, they say the trash will take out the trash, or however they say that.
yeah,
We might have got rid of some people. Some people might have just not liked how we ran things, but all in all, what's the end picture? Still a bunch of guys that want to go to work every day and get some stuff done, work
for
together.
sure. Yeah, and I guarantee you it was hard to get to where the company is at now, and it's obvious that it's not staying where we're at. We can't just sit, and be content with everything that's been built. And I don't take credit for any of it because it was like this when I got here. But I'm going to do everything I can to make it as good as I can while I'm here, or as long as I'm sitting in the seat. Did you ever like see yourself like where you're at right now?
No.
Yeah.
Managing people and learning all this new stuff, and I mean, I'm still learning every day, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that, though, because like a few years after the program, I mean, I went and did some welding for another company, made it 2.5 years and got really bored, and I called Kevin up and I was like, I want to talk to your brother. I was like, I want to come back. I met with Scott, and he's like, man, I think we can use you again. And next thing you know is the date I told him I'd like to start. He was calling me before that, and he's like, we're good, let's go.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm on board, and I'm grateful for that. Like, I don't get bored at my job. There's always something new. I'm always learning something. It's good. It's healthy for my brain. And that's something that you need. Like, sitting and doing the same thing every day. For my head, at least, sitting and doing the same thing every day, in and out. You're not growing. You're just, like you said, it's idle. You're just like there. You're not building. And that was a struggle with the last job. There's nothing wrong with the company. It's a great company. It's just the welding side of it for me. There wasn't a whole lot, and that's why I wanted to come back with construction here. And
if you can, try to think about your mindset when you were laying in the hospital on day 14 in Montana, and your outlook at your life. And then compare it to where, your outlook is now.
that's like probably one of the hardest things to put into words. I mean, I didn't even believe in God back then, but I was praying that something would happen, that I would get out of it, because I was worried I was going to go back out and die, and it's why I took that plane trip, and that's why I came to that program whenever it was. I was down to nothing, I didn't even have a distant family out there. I wasn't even talking to them because of what I did to my life. And then now it's like, to look back at that, like, man, it almost brings tears to your eyes of what I did to myself, and but like, this is like, it's the toughest thing to say I don't regret it, because I put a lot of people, I hurt a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I do regret that, but I don't regret what I've done, because I wouldn't be where I'm at without going through that. I had to take that pain.
I feel you.
I had to do everything I did in my life to get where I am today, to meet the people I've met, to learn what I've learned. Yeah, it sucked. There's some fun, and it sucked really bad for a long time. Then I went to a program that it was tough, like, guy yelling at me all the time.
Yep.
But it was the best. It was all out of love, and I knew it. I figured that after a year, I figured that out. And if he's yelling at me, it's just because he loves me. somehow. I don't know why he does, but
I think about this more than I probably should, but and don't, I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but sometimes I feel sorry for people that, and it's not that I feel sorry, but I just wonder what a life would be like without such a mountain or such a challenge, a demoralizing, like hurtful journey, that I had to go on and I had to face, and I had to do one of two things: either die or learn how to overcome it. Because my life is very colorful today, and I wouldn't have, like you said, I don't think I'd have it any other way. I'm more thankful for my life today than I would have been if I didn't have to work to get it. And I think that applies to just about everything in life. A truck. If you're given a truck, you're not going to take care of it the same way you would if you bought it and paid for it with your work.
yeah, if you worked hard, save that money, paid cash for that truck, it means a lot more to you than it does.
Yeah,
100% true.
And that's the way I feel about my life. Like the life that I have today, I wouldn't even have been able to dream it. It's not only as good as whatever I dreamt about as a life like back then. It's like beyond my wildest like dream of all dreams. The life that I'm living right now. I'm not rich, but I'm not rich by any means.
Yeah, for sure.
But my life is.
Yeah, but you are rich though.
Yeah, I mean financially. Financially, I'm not.
You aren't rich financially, but you are rich in, I don't even know what you want to use that in spirit and connection and that, and that's what it really comes down to. Like if you don't have that and you just have a pile of money sitting in a bank somewhere, that money is only going to keep you. That's like having another drug.
Yeah, that's right.
Like having the connection with people that you can trust and have fun with, learn from, and grow with. That's the most valuable thing ever. Me having, like I've already owned one house and lost it, but I'm going into a season of, I proposed to my girlfriend a year ago. We're going to get married. I've never been there before. I'm going to buy another house with her. I've never been there before. I'm crazy, but like taking those steps and loving every part of it. I'm 40 years old. We're probably going to have a kid hopefully in the next year.
That's right.
I still want to have a child. Like all these things. Yeah, it might be a little late. That's okay. But like, I feel good about it now. I feel like I'm there. Like that. They say, just have a kid whenever. Don't wait till you have money or whatever. No, I wanted to wait till I felt comfortable with somebody. Now I have relationships that I can trust and be comfortable with, and talk to people. Like I've never talked to a girl the way that I talk to Shelby. It's amazing. She says it all the time that we have a different connection, than any other relationships she's had, and the same with me, And I have that same thing with guys though. I have friends that if I'm broke down on the highway, and this happens because I like to buy cheap cars, I'll be broke down on the highway and they say, "Hey, I need your help." Man, they're on the way, and it's amazing to be able to do that. It's not a lot of people have. There's a lot of people that don't have that. They might have a lot of friends, but are they there when you need them?
Are they friends?
Are you doing that? Are you doing that for them if they break down? Or are you like, buddy, I got a truck and I got tools. I'm coming to get you out of this. Same thing, it's to give to take and to build that trust in people and be that person.
Yeah, that's right. I want to be respectful to your time, and we're right around that hour mark. Okay. The last question that I try to ask people is, do you consider yourself successful? And like, what does success even look like to you? I feel like you kind of already like brushed on it with everything that you just said, but go ahead.
I mean, that's a tough one. it's 100% I feel successful. Um, I've always liked working in the trades and building stuff, and every day when you get done, you can look back at what you do and feel good about it. You know, especially if you're doing good work. You know, if you didn't do good work, you might not feel good about it. Then you go back and fix it. If you're good, you go back and you fix your mistakes. But I do feel good about like where I'm at in life and what I've became. There's struggles with it all too, though, because I was always the guy just doing the work, and now, you know, you get handed some guys underneath you and you got to teach them a little bit. And I'm good at the teaching part, but like managing people is a whole new thing for me. But that's what we're doing. We learn new stuff all the time, and that's how we grow. Success is like, it's tough to put into words.
Yeah. No, I think you did a great job at it. For real. You never thought that now all of a sudden, not only are you responsible for yourself, which at one time you struggled with, but now you're responsible for a team of others and their performance, right?
Yeah.
Things that, you know, you never saw possible. And if that doesn't show growth, I don't know what would. And you're not done yet, right? You got...
Yeah, I think so. I was starting to go into that. Like that was all just new to me, you know, and it's kind of changing roles to where you're working a little less with your tools. And it was tough for me at first to have a couple guys under me, because you're dealing with making sure you got parts. You're dealing with making sure you got tasks lined up for everybody. So to me, it doesn't feel like work when you're writing all this stuff down, you're ordering this stuff, sending out emails. But in the bigger picture, it is work, because I might not be getting one task done, but I got 3 other guys getting tasks done while I'm ordering stuff for the next day or the next week. Like in the bigger picture, things are getting done. And that's success, I think, as a whole. We're still, like, it might not feel like it because you're sitting at that desk for an hour or two getting that stuff done, but you are getting tasks done. You're looking ahead. You're making sure people are busy. You're checking quality on stuff. You know, you're looking over everything. And that's, in the end, you're getting more done because of that. You know?
Yeah, and you're building muscles that you never even knew you had.
For sure.
And going places, you know, that you never even knew you would go or be asked to go. You're worried, you know, you're looking into efficiencies and, you know, could we do this better or quicker or save, you know, an hour here by doing it this way? And, you know, your problems now are way more, they're way higher of a class of problem today than they've probably ever been in your life.
100%.
Well, man, I think this is as good a place as any to put a bow on it. No pun intended there. But I really appreciate your story. I think there's a lot of awesome stuff in here. I apologize for the technical details or the difficulties that we had today, but really enjoyed diving into this and hearing a little bit more about your story. I wanted to get into some more like the tool stuff and like what your day looks like, you know, going to work, but that stuff's boring compared to what we talked about. So thank you, man.
There's always other podcasts.
There's always other podcasts you can come back on. That's right. We got the first one under our belts. But once again, thank you, man. We will see you around. Folks, this has been One Call, brought to you by Service Group 360, the business that Bo and I both work for. Please follow the show. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So like and subscribe. And I think that's about it. We will see you next week, Wednesdays at 5 for episode 9 of One Call. Thanks and have a great night.